Welcome to an episode of the cut content of Spec Ops The Line. And as fans of my channel know, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So apologize to ESCalation for ripping off his idea. Today I wanted to talk about something really interesting within the game's files, within the srgame.ini file to be exact. Spec Ops The Line's got a co-op mode. It's alright. 4 levels, they don't really have any connection to the main story, but they're a fun diversion. There are some screenshots from development that hinted there might have been a regular story-based co-op mode, where it shows Adam's perspective, but nothing really came of that in the final build. However, within the srgame file, there is evidence of a full-blown co-op mode that would have tied into the main game's story. It's called Exodus, and would have seen you take on the role of Gray Fox, the CIA team sent in before Delta Force into Dubai to control the situation. We don't even have to speculate what the story's about. Every chapter's outlined, bit by bit, telling you the scenario it's in and a general briefing on the level itself. And it seems like it would have taken place roughly before the events of Spec Ops The Line, but it would have led up to the beginning of the game. Also, the guide character who talks to Agent Castovan in the Chapter 3 cutscene, he was meant to be a major character named Fari. He unfortunately just plays a small role in the final game. You just kill him after that cutscene in the ensuing shootout. But he was meant to be a major character in Exodus, and he was supposed to guide the protagonists of it. Also, Exodus was supposed to have a competitive element to it, where one team would play as Gray Fox, and the other would be the damned 33rd trying to stop them. Sort of like Left 4 Dead's Versus mode, in a way. I'm not sure how that would have worked out in practice, but there's evidence of it there. Along with other stuff like Horde mode and all that, but that's a topic for another time. Without further ado, I say we take a look at these. I'll go by them chapter by chapter and see what exactly Exodus mode would have been like. The campaign is broken up into 3 days, which are composed of 3 different segments. Day 1 is broken up into the levels First Contact, ESCalation, and Gauntlet. In First Contact, the description is Daniels and his squad are on the run. They need to regroup with Fari, a local who guided the squad. The only way to reach him is to get to the crashed plane. Now this might have been the same crashed plane from the first level of Spec Ops where you have the hostage situation with the insurgents. It isn't clear though. ESCalation. Conrad's men got to the mall first. They are fighting the looters and Farid needs help, fast. This might have been the same mall from Chapter 6 of Spec Ops, I believe, when Agent Gould steps in to help you. And then Part 3, Gauntlet, is after successfully rescuing Farid, the only chance of escape is for the squad to reach Conrad choppers located in the Gorge nearby. Something to note is that the damned 33rd, they're generally referred to with Conrad as an adjective, so there'll be references to Conrad soldiers, Conrad choppers, that sort of stuff, instead of 33rd soldiers. That wraps up Day 1. Day 2 is also broken up into 3 segments: Outpost, Battery, and Brig. In Outpost, the description is, Squad has to save Daniels. Fari knows where Daniels will be taken. A direct assault is impossible. He suggests a rooftop attack, starting by climbing the Super Dune. Battery goes, the squad has reached the Conrad outpost, but the rooftops are well guarded. The members of the squad find themselves under heavy mortar fire. Now, this could be an opportunity for the white phosphorus shells to show up, considering how infamous the mortar scene was, but it doesn't specify what sort of munitions they're facing. And then there's Brig. After destroying the mortar, the squad picks up Daniel's signal. You must cross the final rooftops to reach him. Then, Day 3, which is broken up into, again, 3 levels. Motor Pool, Yacht Club, and Tanker 25. Motor Pool reads, with Daniels dead, Riggs is now in charge. He is ready to take the fight to Conrad. To reach Conrad, they will need a vehicle. Squad supports Free as he opens the path to Conrad vehicles. So presumably, Daniels would have died in the aftermath of Day 2, Part 3. Whether we would have seen him get burnt and strung up or not is unclear. In Yacht Club, Riggs wants to reach the refugee tanker camp in the graveyard and get the refugees to fight with them. The squad abandons their vehicle on the edge of the ship graveyard and heads to the tanker camp. This sounds like Chapter 13, with the ship graveyard and the refugee camp. Might have taken place there or in a location similar to it. But it's also a sign of Riggs trying to stir up a revolution against the 33rd, which is mentioned to be the case in his main chapter of the game. And then the last level of Exodus, Tanker 25. The tanker refugees turn out to be loyal to Conrad. Trapped in, the squad must survive against Conrad forces, waiting for air support to come for extraction. This part's interesting because there are references to some of the refugees being loyal to Conrad. There's that effigy dedicated to him at the end of Chapter 13. I thought it just might have been a hallucination of walkers, but maybe it would have tied into this part of the story. Maybe those same refugees who hang Lugo would have attacked or driven out Gray Fox when they try to turn them against Conrad. As for the air support, that part's interesting because it isn't made clear if Gray Fox had any direct connections, if they had any sort of support from the mainland. The Delta Force is just as surprised about Gray Fox's situation. They initially think that they're opposing each other.
Captain Walker.
So, how this would have ended is kind of unclear. It probably would have led to them getting separated.
Maybe you didn't notice,
because
just saved your ass.
by the time Delta arrives, the Gray Fox is kind of doing their own thing. Daniels is captured and strung up to be used as bait. Riggs is trying to lead an attack on the Aquatic Coliseum. Gould is just trying to keep the fight going with the insurgents. And Castovan, he's never mentioned in here, by the way. Castovan was trying to train the refugees and insurgents to fight against the 33rd. Maybe the campaign would have ended with them getting bombarded and separated among a sandstorm of some kind. Or maybe the air support would have actually been Delta Force coming in, unknowingly responding to that distress signal. Who knows, maybe it could have resulted in them powering up the distress signal from Conrad enough for Delta and the others to hear it, thus kicking off the entire game, since it is a prequel after all. There are also references to an AI narrative test map and a QA test map, which would test out narrative scripts. There are also options for doing Exodus with private matches on PlayStation Network, Windows Live, System Link and LAN and Xbox Live, and some strange in-game messages about how the game would work. Under Game Info CP, game name Exodus, it's described as, you cross the player, and to score, first team to accomplish something wins. And for time, you have something minutes to do something cool. Very strange. I would have loved to have known where this would have gone. I mean, it wouldn't have had a massive impact on the story since it's a prequel and we already know how things would have turned out. But it would have been neat to see Gray Fox kind of fall apart like Delta did. Because Gould knew about the plan on the Aquatic Coliseum. He thought Riggs was insane for trying it. And since they aren't really working together in the game, it's possible that Riggs' plan to destroy the water supply is what broke apart Gray Fox, sort of. Because they still are fighting for the same objective of taking down Conrad, but different means. Riggs has a very almost suicidal approach to it. Gould is trying to get some sort of semblance of order, and Castovin's just handling things as brutally as possible. It would have been nice to see their development as characters and have more light shined on them. As far as I know, there are no references to this in like audio or gameplay elements. It's all just mentioned in text. It's fortunate that there's so many references to it though. I mean, this basically spells out the campaign. 9 levels broken up into 3 segments. I think it would have been a cool idea. I would have rather them just cut out multiplayer mode and developed Exodus instead. But it seems like multiplayer was kind of a mandate from 2K games, so they kind of just worked with what they had. It's unfortunate, but it's the game we got. We still got an excellent single-player campaign. And we did get co-op mode in the end, even if it was watered down. We still got a fantastic story, and I suppose that's what matters. But it's kind of sad to look through this and see this big plan for this co-op mode that would have also had a versus elements, where you'd swap off at the end of each campaign level, where one side would be playing as the Damned 33rd, another side would have been the Gray Fox team. There are references to custom characters just above a mention of the Exodus menu, so I don't know if you would have done that for both teams or for the 33rd or neither, but it's possible. You can customize your multiplayer characters. Maybe you would have changed how your troops looked or how the Gray Fox looked, with different unlocks and all that. Again, all we can really do is speculate. There are also objectives, which, again, very important, very interesting. I definitely want to give these a read-through as well, so I'll focus on them now. The objectives listed under the CP heading have different names for levels, and they're broken up into KR and SO objectives. KR for Conrad, or the Damned 33rd, and SO for Spec Ops, or in this case, the Gray Fox CIA team. That's also how the game talks about the multiplayer mode, where the Exiles are SO, Spec Ops, and the Damned are KR, or Conrad. So the first level is called Bastion here. There are a bunch of different objectives for the team, usually involving the Conrad's team stopping the Spec Ops team from accomplishing objectives. So in order to give you an idea how the story would work, I'll just cover the Spec Ops, the Gray Fox objectives. The first level goes like this. Protect Furry and wait for air support. Set a charge on the fence. Furry must not be captured. Prevent the enemy from defusing the charge. Use the radio to call air support. Furry must not be captured. Rearm the charge on the fence. Regroup in the street. Regroup in front of the truck. Furry must fix the zip rope. He must not be captured. Then we have C1S1. The Spec Ops objectives are: set up the bomb on the facade, prevent the enemies from defusing the bomb, reach the main entrance, break the glass facade with explosives, and reach the main alley. Gorge, level 3, would go like this. Take the footbridge, go into the street, find your way to the lower level, plant a bomb on the barrier, break through the restaurant, reach the second building, and steal the helicopter. Now we're on to day 2. This one's just called Conrad Outpost. It only has a few objectives. Regroup at zip lines to escape. Follow Daniel's signal. Wait for air support. Air support's coming up quite a bit in these. I wonder if Gray Fox would have gotten more material support from the US. It seems like they were kind of just shipped out there without much help in the main game. Tough to tell though. Next level is called Plane Crash. Activate the bomb to break the barricade. Prevent the enemies from defusing the bomb. Find a way to access the mall entrance. Reach the hotel. Cross the hotel. Reach the mall entrance with your squad. And reach the parking lot. And then rooftops. Take the bridge to the next building. Install the zip rope before the mortar fires at you. Plant explosive on the mortar. Prevent the enemies from defusing the bomb. Rearm the bomb. Take the zip rope to the next roof. Ship Graveyard. Only 2 Conrad objectives here, and multiple Spec Ops objectives. The only 2 Conrad objectives are capture the squad and defuse explosives on fuel tank, while Gray Fox has these objectives. Enter the refugee camp. Break into the abandoned ship. Place explosives on the fuel tank. Prevent the enemies from defusing the bomb. Rearm explosives on the fuel tank. Reach a higher position. Reach the tanker. Then there's Super Dune. Gray Fox objectives are as follows. Break into the building. Regroup in the elevator. Activate the generator. Prevent the enemies from turning off the generator. Cross the dark parking lot. Regroup in front of the parking lot. And wait for air support. Notably, the last objective there is labeled as SO_trap. So that might have been the situation where the refugees turn on you. And now, the last level, CP Tanker. There are 3 Conrad objectives and plenty of Spec Ops objectives. Gray Fox's objectives are, don't let the squad activate the beacon. That's a strange objective for Gray Fox. Wonder if he would have stopped the refugees from doing something, or 33rd from doing something. Anyway, objective 2, prevent the enemies from stopping the beacon. Then, next objective is just stop the beacon. Regroup under the chopper to escape. Launch a flare to help the chopper locate you. Answer to the radio. Use the radio to call a chopper. Wait for the pilot's answer. Survive until the chopper comes in. That looks like the last objective because the one below that is labeled SO_test, and it says Arcane Test this time. Not sure what that's referring to. Arcane Studios, maybe? But I don't know if they had any involvement in this. I know that they outsourced the multiplayer development, but I didn't think they outsourced this. But it seems like it went way beyond the idea phase. It seems like they got pretty far into it. It's incredible to look at. That's everything I can find about Exodus. And it definitely seems like there's a lot to this game mode. Wonder how far it got in development. All these text strings seem to imply that maybe they got some work done on it? I don't know. Maybe they did some initial tests before scrapping it in favor of a traditional multiplayer mode where it's one team against another. Because this would be much more complex. This is like a Left 4 Dead style campaign. Or like Payday 2, but with 2 sides instead of a player versus enemy environment. Anyway, that's all that I have. That's all I could find about Exodus, but it's still a ton. And this is a treasure trove of info. I would love to see how far they got with this. Thanks for watching, and thanks for checking out this episode of the cut content for Spec Ops The Line. Believe me when I say, there is more to come from here. There's a lot hidden within the game, and it definitely deserves having a light shown on it, just because of how much dedication the developers put into it. Have a good one.